Okay, we're going. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a psychic medium intuitive. I do next gen medium, and my hair is crazy. The humidity is out of control. Here, that's my excuse. And my chair is really clicky until I point it out that it's clicky. And then suddenly it stops being quiet. It's like when I make micro moves that it's like, okay. All right. So this is usually when I do my Reddit answers, but I got an email and I wanted to look at this email and give my thoughts. Because I love it when people message me directly. It makes me feel like I'm actually doing things. So with Reddit answers, I usually will take a look at the kind of questions that people have and give my 2 cents. In this case, it came directly to me. This chair. All right. So it says, Sarah, OMG. It's crazy how you and I have so much in common, although I do not know about Elizabeth Thorson. I love Carolyn Miss. I found her, or she found me on YouTube, recommended a little over a year ago, and she is just astounding. I really like Carolyn Miss too. That's why you even mentioned her. I know you're probably thinking I'm just another crazy fan, but I'm telling you, you have helped me in so many ways. Oh, I love hearing that. I don't know if this has affected you, but in the beginning, when you started being more in tune with spirit, did you ever feel like you just couldn't read enough, search enough, that you were pulled to learning as much as you can? It's crazy. I feel a little overwhelmed at the moment, having all this new information from spirit and what I find research and what I'm finding in research. I'm in a place right now that I'm trying to shut my ego up. That will be a lifelong task. That feeling of you're crazy comes about, or what is wrong with you. I tend to disconnect, if you will, when engaging in conversations with my family, or it's kind of like I'll be talking or doing something and kind of go off into left field. I'm trying to learn to balance spirit and my research online. Balance spirit and my research. Doing online classes as a medical front office and billing coding assistant, and practice meditation, mindfulness, self-love, self-care. But I'm a little out of whack. Balance. Trying to find that balance. Any advice for me? I'm not going to mention the rest of this stuff because, let me put it this way, soul sister Brit Brit. Thank you for your kind words in this email. And there was more stuff that she put in there, but this is what I got to say about that. If you can't afford to talk to me, there's kind of this weird thing with being someone who feels like I can give advice and I can give insight with the experiences I've had, and sort of people, what's the word? Offering something for my time. And this is something I've been thinking a lot about, and something I want to do differently, because I do believe in exchange of energy, as much of a payment as a monetary amount. And I'm thinking about how I can do that. I want to be able to devote my time to helping people with this stuff, to training people, to doing what I can to help people, as well as continue to grow myself, because it's a lifelong journey. And it's kind of hard when your time is split up between paying the bills of this physical world, and the physical world and the spiritual world function very differently. And this is definitely something I'm thinking a lot about. So this isn't the end of that conversation, but know that this is definitely on my mind. But Brit Brit, She took advantage of emailing me, and I'm so glad you did. Because I want to talk to you, Brit Brit, and I want to talk to Brit Brit, and I want to talk to anybody that has the same kind of questions. And it sounds like to me, Brit Brit, you have discovered the spiritual world, and not only that, but you find it as part of your reality. And I think once you cross that threshold, the threshold I'm always speaking of believing it is the spiritual world, is more of our reality, I think that's when you're really hit with what is it that I don't know that I want to know, about this amazing world. And it almost sounds like you've gone through a spiritual awakening by the way you're telling your story. This chair, it's going to be the end of me. So first of all, Carolyn Miss, I love Carolyn Miss. I was actually listening to a YouTube video that she put out a while ago, and it was the reasoning for her to talk about this, I think it's a saint, Teresa of Avignon or something like that. And there's conversation that Carolyn has. This is going to be like an everything to do with this email, whatever thoughts kind of pop in my head. There are times when Carolyn Miss uses terminology that's hard for me to still get past, especially when it comes to saints. She mentions God. She mentions a lot of religious kind of words. Part of me is not down with religion. I think there's a newer part of me that has a different understanding of religion, in that it's putting people in that direction of what spirituality is really about. However, there's a lot of things about religion and the institution and all that stuff that is hard for me to get past. So when I hear Carolyn do these conversations, I kind of have to transpose some of the language, but the gist of what she's saying is pretty incredible. The stuff that she says, how she says it, I can't help but think, like, Carolyn is kind of how I imagine myself in about 30 years, maybe less than that. And I would love to have that opportunity to be the kind of figure that Carolyn misses. She's got some incredible things in her arsenal of spiritual theories, and some of it I'm totally down with, and some of it I'm still trying to resonate with. So to be 100% like Carolyn Miss knows it all, like nobody knows it all. Nobody, not me, not you. Like we can have some really good ideas on what it's all about, but I don't think us as humans can really 100% grasp it all. But where Carolyn Miss is heading with things, like, that's awesome. She's awesome. I would definitely recommend going and checking out her channel. But if you are a little like me and the religious aspect of this stuff is kind of a turnoff, that's kind of my, like, heads up. Carolyn Miss is going to mention that stuff, and it might, I don't know. But anyway, Carolyn Miss, awesome. All right, Brit's email. I don't know if this has affected you, but in the beginning, when you started being more in tune with spirit, did you ever feel like you just couldn't read enough, search enough, that you were pulled to learning as much as you could? It's funny how you mention it that way, because it does seem like a lot of people are combing the internet, trying to find answers. And I can totally relate with wanting to understand. However, one thing that I've kind of have been affiliated with this whole time is the idea that my truth comes from me. Everybody will have theories based on their experiences. If it resonates with you, then that's something to consider. But ultimately, have I been scouring, trying to buy all the books, trying to do... No, I haven't. Because this journey's mine. And how I learn it is through my own experiences, my own meditations, my own interaction with guides, my own investigation of my own abilities through evidence. I want to see the evidence. And I won't feel 100% with evidence unless I'm the one that experiences. So if someone writes a book and it's got really good stuff in there that inspires me, totally worth my time. If I read a book and it's telling me how things work, I'm going to consider it. But ultimately, what is my truth is the time and energy I spend investigating. So for me, in the beginning, when I was humming with the energy from the source or whatever, when I felt most, I apologize. I'm trying to get my thoughts together while I'm talking this out. When I felt most in tune with spirit, with the connection of the whole world and all this stuff with my spiritual awakening, what I couldn't get enough of and what I was scared of was experiencing the things, witnessing the information, and then uncovering its truth. Some of it is still being uncovered. Some of it's brand new when it comes to my experiences and how I understand how this all works. Ultimately, it's your experience and it's your truth. But, you know, being inspired by what other people have to say, resonating with what other people have to say, that can be very validating. And what's interesting is I read your email and I feel that connection of almost like a frenzy, a scatteredness, because part of you is kind of lost up there. And I can feel that direct link of someone who has touched upon something that changes your whole world. And you're just feeding the curiosity. You're getting inspired. And I think the fact that I'm feeling that connection with you just through the email that you've written with me is validation of your experience. How do you feel after I said that? Do you feel relief? There's something to be said about the physical you, the ego, social world you, and getting that validation. There's a transcension that's going to take place once you do feel validated, where that ego self needs to have that validation for yourself. And I think once you really start investing in those experiences and investigating and finding its truth through your experiences, that's when the validation of people like me, people who write the books, that's when it's you validating yourself. And that's when everything changes. Okay. It's crazy. I feel a little overwhelmed at the moment. I don't know how you couldn't be with all this new information. And it's hard when you're living your life. This person is taking online classes, trying to better their physical world existence, but also having this other side that is being fed this new information, this new curiosity, this new passion. And luckily for me, this stuff came about in a lull of my life. And it came about in the right time. And maybe this transition of what you're going through right now is meant to encompass this new information you're learning with the medical stuff. If it wasn't, from my perspective, and you talking about your medical stuff that you're learning about, I look back and I think about the years I spent with the Red Cross Blood Services and as a medical assistant. And I even did some coding and stuff as a secretary, medical secretary, back in the day when you didn't need certifications and all this other crap, and I was grandfathered in, thank God. Now, I would be like, I'm not spending money to make that amount of money. Like, come on. But if it wasn't for that experience, I don't know if I'd be able to connect in a way. How do I put this? I don't know if I would have the detail of referencing when it comes to understanding people's diagnosis. So someone passing along, and they're trying to signal to me something that they experienced in their lifetime, that would be an evidential piece of information to do with their history. And oftentimes it's a medical thing, right? So I don't think if I didn't have that medical stuff in my background that I would be able to reference now that the pain I feel in my leg is a venous issue, and being able to use spirit using reference in my brain to call upon the terminology, the visuals of what I understand of the human body through the work that I've done from the past. You know, I don't know if I would be able to do that now if that piece wasn't a part of my experience. And so the more stuff that you can learn about, the more stuff that spirit can have reference to, that you can directly link to things, will definitely help with understanding the messaging much clearer and becoming much more evidential, because you can really pinpoint things. So I would say if you're going through this transition right now and you're looking into medical stuff as part of what you're doing for work, think of what you're doing for work as studying for more referencing, for spirit to connect and give you information. That's with everything. Everything. When you go travel, the experiences you have with understanding a different culture, that can be a reference point for spirit. If you are connecting with, you know, someone who has a family in India, and you've been to India, and there are certain foods or certain, you know, cultural things that you experience when you're over there, and you feel a connection, some sort of emotional connection or a visual connection, and when you're reading that person, you're able to connect with pieces of them and their family's history. You can pinpoint things much more defined than if you'd never been to India. You know what I mean? So the more experience we can have in anything, the better off we'll be in creating evidential material for people to feel that connection, to feel that, holy shit, this is for real. But also for yourself to be like, okay, I'm in the right place, I'm in the right connection. It reminds me of every time I do a reading and a dog pops in. I didn't grow up with dogs. I never really had an interest in dogs until more recently. But every time I go, I got to start studying dogs because I don't know the different breeds. And if I could give a breed, if I had that as part of my intellectual arsenal, another arsenal terminology thing there. If I could have that as part of my referencing, then I could pinpoint and be much more accurate with my readings. Instead of saying, it's a white dog, it's got brown spots, it's about this big, I want to say terrier, but like everything's a terrier. It would probably be like a 10-pound dog, you know what I mean? If I could just say, it's a Springer Spaniel, or, then it'd be like, oh, that's my dog. They could be like, oh, that's right on. But because I don't have that reference, I can't give those moments of like pure, to the point referencing. And this is the longest video I think I've ever done. Are we at 23 minutes? 21. Holy crap, you guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me wrap this up. I'm feeling crazy. That feeling you're crazy comes about, or what is wrong with you. I still feel like that sometimes. I still feel like this isn't, I don't know. I guess there's part of me that still goes, is this all still really real to me? Because there are definitely times when I feel kind of disconnected from it. And I've been feeling that a lot lately because I've been putting my head down and doing the work and checking things off the list, which means I can't be open to what's around me in that moment all the time. And learning to balance spirit with real life is difficult, no matter where you are in the process. And it's hard because there's this physical world rules that are just so draining, and they're downers, and you got to play by these rules. But once you start like really getting part of that spiritual part of yourself and really start aligning with what really matters, you don't want to play by those rules anymore. Because that stuff like holds you back, holds you down. And the more you feel yourself in this part of your reality as opposed to the spiritual part of your reality, it feels like it holds you back. And those fears and all that stuff that you feel like you kind of overcome to a great deal, a great extent with the spiritual awakening stuff, and feeling like you've gained a new purpose, like a big purpose, no matter how simple or how complex it is. There's still this real world physical thing you got to deal with. You still got to pay the bills, which means your attention needs to be taken away from the stuff that feels like it really matters. You still have to deal with people that aren't the best to be around. And your soul self is going, this ain't right. This is not being my energy is being dragged down. And so you might find that there's a lot of change that could happen. Some of them really play with how your egoic self can handle letting go of people, of places. And you might realize, I gotta get a new job. This is not working. Because who I am now isn't the person that used to put up with that crap. Now I'm somebody else, and now I realize that my energy is better put somewhere else. I remember getting a message from one person who was going through this kind of stuff and really had a hard decision with her relationship. Do I stay with him? Or is it time for me to move on? And that can be really hard, to leave people behind and to emotionally disconnect. I get that. I do. But this is your life. These are your decisions. And I always say, if you feel relief in making your decision, you did it at the right time. But if you feel like you have a hard decision to make and you need to weigh things and you don't know which way to go, maybe the question is what aren't you thinking of as an option? Because maybe your egoic self is not including that as an option. And that's when the bigger picture starts coming in and you start going, I didn't realize this about myself. I didn't realize I held myself back in this way. I didn't realize this was as big of a fear as it really is. And that's when you start really seeing how in control that physical world's social dependency is, and how dysfunctional it is. And your spiritual self does not want to be bounded, and it wants to be happy. So where does your spiritual self want to take you, and where does your egoic self want to keep you? This is what we need to uncover and kind of peel off like an onion, because it's so many layers. It's taken this long to build, so it's going to take some time to slough it off. I've been using schlep and slough a lot lately. So I hope that helps you. I understand what it feels like. You're going to feel out of whack because you are in a different space. And my advice to you is take it in. Take in that love and that attention that you're giving things right now. It's hard to balance that real world thing you got to do in order, to feed yourself and clothe yourself and have that money, those utilitarian needs. But this is when you start dismantling that pyramid that's been built of reaching that self-realization stage, right? Maslow's hierarchy. I mentioned that in the podcast at one point. And you've crossed the threshold. You're going into that new triangle where you start dismantling, start realizing what that self-actualization really is, the bigger picture of what that is all about. And it starts feeding up into the lower parts of Maslow's triangle. You start working yourself back down and start peeling apart what kind of job is really good for me now that I know I have a better priority of what's going on with the self-actualization peaked. But it doesn't stop, though. That's the thing. Okay. Wow. I feel like I've talked in puzzles here, but and a lot of different kind of stuff. But Britt, I appreciate that you emailed me, and I appreciate that I spent a half hour on this for you. And if that makes you feel, I don't know. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say is this is a half hour of conversation that I've been able to share with many people. So, and I can share this on my YouTube. So don't think that there isn't a reciprocation of energy in this, Britt. And for all those who have a question, do what Britt did. Send me an email, nextgenmedium@gmail.com. You can go to my website and fill out a form. I have a contact form there. And you could also be a part of the member access stuff, which is on my website. It's a $14 a month subscription. And as questions start rolling in from the members, I can devote, video time to those questions too. And the idea with the member access is if you are further along in your discovery, and Britt, I would say that you are, that the member access is kind of more geared towards that, as opposed to, psychic. I could be a psychic? That's interesting. Let me start looking into that. I would say member access isn't necessarily set up for those who are brand new to the concepts that you too could be a psychic medium or intuitive. I do have a guide for that you can buy on the website. It's $7.99, and I have multiple formats. It's all digital. I do have a PDF version that you can print off. There are worksheets and exercises that come with it so that it can get you to that point of needing that member access and needing that validation, needing to share, needing to connect with people, because that will definitely be a part of your future, just as Brittany is doing right now. So, all right, I'm exhausted. Whew, and a little lightheaded. That was quite a conversation. All right, if you got any questions, throw them at me. Be part of the member access stuff at nextgenmedium.com. And $14 a month, you get access to my blog, which this is the kind of stuff that happens in the blog. And especially if you're a little further along, there's information in there that could help you that, if you have questions, I can do this kind of stuff and share it with everybody who has the same questions. My hair is crazy today. I'm so sorry. But I also do the blog where I'll put things in there that have kind of come up in my brain, and I'll be like, you know what? We're going to talk about intuition today. Intuition, cornerstone of the soul ability stuff. And tips on that. I didn't recognize my intuition until a year into understanding my abilities. Can you believe it? I can, because that's what happened to me. But also complete access to the podcast. Some of it is a paywall stuff. Some of it's free. But as a member, you get full access to it. And what's cool that, I was thinking about the podcast and why would people want to listen to some of the episodes again? If you listen to it, you have it in the back of your brain. But if you have an experience that reminds you, oh my God, Sarah did an episode on this, or I think I remember Sarah saying something about this, I got to listen to that episode again. It's right there at your fingertips to have whenever you need it. So, yeah, so there's that stuff. And thank you for watching. Check out my other videos that are not this long. They're not this long. I just felt like rambling today. You know why? Because I've been busting ass on all my website stuff and my store stuff and the member access in the past month. Creating EPUB documents. I didn't even know what that was 2 months ago. What a crazy world this is. It's got all this technology stuff that I've had to whip out. But I finally have a little bit of breathing room right now, and I was like, I'm gonna talk a lot. All right, we're almost 40 minutes. I will not do that to you. But feel free to send me a message or anything. I apologize for the chair. I apologize for the hair. But I do not apologize for putting this stuff out there. And Brittany, I appreciate the wonderful things you've put in this. Very brave and inspiring. Thank you. Keeping it real. That's all I got. That's all I can do. It's too much energy to do it any other way. That's the number one you learn in the soul world. You start sloughing off the stuff that takes too much energy because your energy needs to go towards the stuff that really matters. All right, peace out.